So what I learned recently, I would say for the past 2 weeks, yeah, more or less, I learned that there's something that I realized yesterday, which is in relation to design thinking, that would be ideation, prototyping, testing, and then implementing. This iterative process is, if I just put it into, what I realize is if I want to do some design, like if I am to design something, I need to do research, right? Because if I am to design something, it means I'm to solve a problem. So that means for me personally, I would then incorporate research thinking into design thinking, because not only would this able to accurately pinpoint any kind of problems, but also seeing the bigger picture from just simply like I want to design something, right? If I just want to simply design something, that would be for a cause. For some people, it could be for money, but I'm not talking about money in this sense though. What I realized is, if I were to design something, now for me personally, it would be designing models, okay, that actually help other people to grow. Now there are multiple projects that for me is ongoing. So they are all going at the same time. And this is what I learned about when I focus on multiple projects at the same time. Usually, because usually the scientific way of conducting research would be, you first draft out a thesis, right? A thesis statement, or like you have an idea of what you're researching on, and then you collect data based on that, right? For me, I operate a little bit differently. And I'm actually navigating through this. I'm like, do I have to go with the standardized way of research now in the academia, or can I venture into something like a newer way? I'm not sure if it's a newer though, because I don't know, but just this is something very innate in me, so I do research in such a way. But it is evident that it works for me efficiently, because I learn about a lot of things from observing patterns. And these observational patterns actually comes from, well, how should I say? It's like I don't actually have to pinpoint to address a certain issue, but because of all the data that I gather, they can over time become solutions, and I don't even have to consciously do anything about it. It's just there. Okay, so my method personally is that what I learned about yesterday, I suddenly realized that while we can do the design thinking in the steps of ideation, prototyping, testing, and implementing, but it's an iterative process, right? You don't have to go from step to step. You can actually go with prototyping and testing at the same time while implement it to test, to gain the result in a way. Okay, so this is how I see it. I'm not sure how, this is a creative process, right? Everyone can do it in a different way. So what I realized is that if I were to do it in an iterative process, it's important to have also observation, interaction, application, and reflection. Because these 4 steps, to me, from my personal experience, I realized it's a learning process. Like, it's so important to have these 4. as in this would become so much more comprehensive. Observation is, in a way, I would say, linked with ideation, because like from the observation, I would then learn about the patterns. But it's not that I would consciously already know finding patterns. I'm not trying to find patterns, but I just put myself in there. Like I just put myself in the situation and just immerse in there. Because if I keep thinking, it's not going to work. If I just think, it's not going to work. Now, this is the same for any kind of scientific experiments, because like, I guess, because most of them would kind of, no, actually that's not true. Because most scientific studies, they actually have a controlled experiment. Like they do it in a controlled way, more or less. They have something that they lay out, they want to research on, and so they focus on that. So I take a different approach then. Because I don't actually have a specific thing that I have to research on, but I just put myself in that pool, immerse myself in the interest area that I want to learn about, that I'm attracted to, I'm curious about. Say, if I'm very interested in kids' education, right? I'm very interested in neurodivergent. I'm like, why would people, like, I just have a lot of whys, like why? But my intent is to learn about them, like to understand why, like why would you, how do you feel? That's actually something I really focus on. That's why I would ask the kids. And when I interact with them, that's the interaction part. So from observation, so these four things, they actually come together. Like it's an ongoing thing. It's like building, that's how the knowledge is built. And it is not through a conscious planning or conscious crafting or strategizing of what I want to do with this experiment. Because now my point is, if I were to design, now that links to design thinking. If I were to design something, right, that means it's something controlled. Now, I'm not suggesting that I should not control anything, but I only need to control myself. That's it to me. I would say I'm more maybe like a life scientist. I'm more of a life scientist in this sense than an actual, like I have to build something, only then I can work out the experiment within this structure. So for me, I don't build a structure. Rather, I start from putting myself into these situations first. And then through observation, I would understand different, I would naturally gather the understandings or what is happening there, why is there, There comes different sets of questions. And these questions, I don't have to craft. Like I don't have to build something to research on that. It's a very explorative process that I learn about things, because I don't limit the way that I need to learn. So I would then just put myself in there. Say for kids education, I just interact with the kids. And through the interaction, because interaction is just so important for learning, if I were to guess, assume how they feel, what they do, or say just simply study their brains. Now the kids have ADHD. Now I can see on the brain, right? I can analyze. But what I realize is that analysis comes from analysis is not applicable when it comes to humans. Like if you were to, I mean, we can, but it's like if it's just 100% analysis, it is not. No. I mean, analysis is an integrative process that assists the understanding to take forms. Yes, like, because what I realize is a lot of the time in scientific research, like academia-wise, they use a lot of analysis to assume, to guess, to think. But this actually would, it would eliminate, it would unknowingly eliminate out a lot of the very essential factors when it comes to studying humans or people or any kind of subjects, because especially when it involves people, because humans have emotions. That interaction is so important, because that forms the understandings that if I were not to interact with them, I would have never known. I would have never known. What does it mean? It's like, see, when I interact with the kids, I ask them questions. I tell them something. They would give me feedbacks, instant feedbacks. This is kind of like this is like, if we put it into AI context, this is prompting question, right? I prompt, they give me feedback and prompt me back. And then I'm like, okay, I give them feedback and then I prompt them back. Now, this is the process, and this process would churn out so much more information than I just keep reading a book. That is not gonna, it's not gonna work. That's what I realized. I'm like, no, I can understand the background information first. Yes, absolutely yes. When I understand certain background information, I have a good general understanding of what this subject is. Now that's good enough. Now then stop planning, stop strategizing, and just go interact. Go interact. When during the interaction, I would then understand so much more of the context, because this is immersive learning. Learning from immersive experience. If I just keep I can theorize. Is that such a word? If I theorize something, make anything into a theory, it's so easy. It's so easy to put things into theories. This is the easiest way to put anything into theories, because if you have no application, you have no interaction. Application-wise, anything can kind of, if anyone has a theory, you can apply it in any ways. I'm just gonna be, yeah, that's how I see. Anyone comes up with a theory, you can apply it in any way. And it could possibly work, but it just depends on the situation, case by case. But if we want to build something on a research base, with a research mindset, if we want to build something that can apply to many, it's so important to get involved. If I am a separate subject, a separate thing from that experiment, I would not understand. I would not. That is why interaction is so important. Now that is the AI thing the same, right? I have to prompt. This is the modern way of seeing it, how I make an analogy. If in another analogy would be in, what was that? In Buddhism or ancient philosophers, like in Socrates, even in Socrates in ancient Greece, he loves asking questions. Because he loves asking questions, because when he asks, that's actually prompt. Now the other person would give him prompts back, and then that is the back and forth, and that generates knowledge. That gives him the insights, new insights, and new understandings. It is through questioning and answer, and then questioning and answer. And that goes the same for Buddhism. Buddha, they hold this kind of satsang, and they would just have this kind of dialogue, back and forth. This generates knowledge. So this is the same for anything in the modern day. It's the same thing. Same thing. So this is what I realized is that it's a principle. It's a first principle. This not only applied to ancient Greece, not only would it apply to 2,500 years ago in the when Buddha was alive. Now it's the same. AI is evident. This is the prompting. When we prompt, feedback, prompt again, feedback, and then prompt me, this is the same thing. That's how we learn, right? And so this would be the same for any kind of interaction, any kind of research, or when we want to try to understand something. That's it. When we want to try to understand something or anything, dialogue, we have to learn in dialogues. That is the fastest way, most efficient way, and most personal way. It is a case-by-case thing that it cannot be applied. No, like one dialogue cannot be applied to another one, because every single dialogue is unique and full of knowledge. It is knowledge. And so that is why observation, interaction, what was the third one? Observation, interaction, application, and reflection. That's why through the observation, we also have interaction, right? So these two steps would be actually ideation and prototyping. It is through observing we would then understand the ideation, because through observation we come up with ideas. That's ideation. Okay. Now, second thing, interaction. Interaction is basically prototyping. It is through the interaction we then expand the ideation, and gradually through the interaction it forms into the idea of what to prototype. Okay, now that prototyping, it is also through the interaction, because it can be instantly tested through the interaction in itself. Of course, it's not just in a single interaction. We can have multiple interactions across time. It can be like once per week or 2 times per week. And every single time this is, it is through the interaction would generate, the prototype would be naturally generated, because we would have the reflective part. After each interaction, the reflection would come in as a reinforcement tool to generate out whatever understanding I gather or data that I gather, and that becomes, insights. These reflection would allow me to have feedbacks for myself, and then further put it into the observation again, and then also at the same time to put into the prototyping, because then I would realize, okay, that's what I observed, and that's what I can try next time. So this part of interaction combines both prototyping and testing. Yeah, the observation is for ideation. So through interaction, I already put prototyping and testing together. Okay? Now, what is the application part? The application part is not that much of implementation. The application part is combining testing and implementing. Combining testing and implementing, because when we apply anything, we are actually testing something out at the same time and implementing something. So this application, if I put it into a kids' education context where I interact with the kids, it would be not only, now this application part would be actually something that I built or like a structure or model or something tangible to have them to play with, and I would then see the result, because it's testing and implementing at the same time. Okay, so yes, so that's what I had in mind, that this process called observation. Observation. Oh, what was it? Oh my God. Observation, interaction, application, and and even reflection. So now this video for me is the reflection part. Okay, and then I would then watch it again, and I would see what I can learn from this reflection to put it into observation. How can I refine it, right? How can I refine my methods of observing, and also interacting? This is very interesting, because I would say, okay, now this particular video is for the reflection on combining this observation, interaction, application, reflection with the design thinking. So ideation, prototyping, testing, and implementing is the merging them together in a way. Yeah, but for this video is for this. Now maybe I would take another video that is on the kids' education, because now when the reflection part, when I talk about kids, right, what I observe, what I learn, and then I would then be able to, next time when I meet them, how can I adjust my way of interacting with them? Then that is basically observation and interaction, right? Because the interaction part involves the prototyping and testing at the same time. So I can actually test it out. And this would be so much more efficient, and not only would I be able to get the first-hand data, because they give me feedback. That is just the most important thing. Their feedbacks are the most important, not that I'm guessing what they would be. If I just theoretically think of anything, it might work, but this is another thing that I realized. When it comes to any kind of research, if I already have a preoccupied concept on something that I think it is this way, or it is most likely this way, I'm biased, right? So that's why I don't bear any kind, I choose not to bear any kind of preoccupied understanding or concept when I put myself in there, because I would realize, no, it's not what I think. I thought it is this way, but it's not. When I asked them about how they feel, they told me something a little bit different, and oh wow, I didn't know that. So it's so important, because bias actually comes from that process of understanding. If I bear any kind of emotions in myself, as well, along with if I were to bear any kind of emotions and past experiences in myself that I associate with that current setting that I'm in, it is very easy to get biased, because it's because that emotion would cause a researcher to be in a state of non-objective, right? To be in a state of subjective. Now, this subjectivity would then very easily cause bias, because that researcher would see from the lens on something, a very focused point, and it's not objective enough. Objectivity is, I think this is not the most easiest part, because because we all have a different set of backgrounds, and also understandings and also emotions and also personality. But it's important for any practitioner to stay neutral and just be open to all kinds of information, just to let it flow, because that's how I operate when I put myself in there. Like if I go with the flow in that setting, but I would gradually shape the form by setting out boundaries. Because especially when it comes to ADHD, for such as an example, because it is chaos. It is chaos. Chaos means something that's out of control. That energy or it is just the people with ADHD. They can't focus. No, they lack concentration, lack the ability. They have to hone it, right? They have to refine that ability of concentration. But when they are not able to concentrate, they have a lot of running thoughts. They can't focus, and so they would go do this and do this and do this at the same time. Their mind is absent. They're absent. Okay, they really are just kind of like on autopilot, and they don't know what they even if they. There was a time. The kid, I was talking to him. He would just automatically went for the snacks and eat. And then I was like, can you put your hand still on your knees, on top of your knees for a while. Let's test it out, I told him. And he said, put it down. But then gradually he would then, take out his hand to grab the snack. And then I was like, do you realize you were grabbing grabbing the snack? And then he was like, oh, I actually didn't realize that. He didn't even know he was doing this. And of course I didn't reprimand him. I didn't scold him. I was like, did you realize you were actually taking snack? And then he now becomes even a little bit more conscious with his urge. And he also comes to realize that, oh right, I actually don't even know I'm reaching out for the snack. You see, this is very important. I never knew it. They don't know they are actually doing something. They're not in alignment with their conscious mind. They're doing something that is like they're taking actions like out of a habitual pattern. And it's like as if they are hypnotized to be doing it. And they don't even know that they are doing it. They're not conscious with that. Okay? And that's very, very interesting. And then I said, it's okay, I understand. And it's very important to stay neutral and compassionate. So basically compassion to me is just the understanding. When I understand, it is not about me at all. Okay, it's just I am observing. And through this interaction, I learn about these new things. And I will come to ask them, why would you feel, how do you feel? Why would you do it? Does it make you feel better if we such and such? And that's the progress. That's through the interaction. It then helps me to learn so much more from them. And they also learn about themselves from me by me asking them questions and they answering. So yeah, that's it. That's it for this one. Oh.